Hi everyone, this is Miho from Airhead, and today we'll go through the most recent 5 questions from Principles of Flights that have been seen in the recent EASA exams across all authorities. So let's jump to the questions, go through the possible answers, and explain why the correct one is the correct one. So starting with question number 1. The following 2 images show the buffet margins of the same aircraft. Aircraft A has a larger gap between the yellow bars than aircraft B. Considering the aircraft B with the smaller gap, what does this indicate about the aircraft's buffet margin? So let's take a look at the photo. So here on the PFD, we can see that one aircraft is flying at 36,000 feet, whereas the other one is flying at 38,000 feet. In this question is referring to nothing else rather than a coffin corner, which is as you climb higher and higher and the air becomes denser, but also the local speed of sound starts to decrease, the low speed buffet starts to catching up to our aircraft, and the high speed buffet starts to decrease, catching from the other side. This causes a little cone of low speed buffet on the one side and a high speed buffet on the other side. And as the aircraft climbs higher and higher, we position ourselves in this very top small cone. This is where the name of the coffin corner comes from, as this is the small cone or coffin at the top of the boundary of the buffets. So now, as you can see, the other aircraft is flying higher and this margin is much smaller. So what does it mean practically? This means that the aircraft is closer to a stall because of a decreased air density, and it also means that the aircraft is flying closer to the high speed buffet. So from the possible answers, of course, the aircraft is flying at a higher altitude. The aircraft has a higher safety margin. No, the opposite, it has a lower safety margin. The aircraft is operating closer to its critical angle of attack. Of course, it is because the slow speed buffet is approaching from the left side, and we have the less dense air, meaning we need to compensate for the decreased density. And of course, the turbulence is not affecting us in case of this question. Another question, VC. So this question refers to the design speeds. So there are 4 of them, which all of you should know for your Principles of Flights exam. We have VA, which is the maneuvering speed, and maneuvering speed is the one that actually the answer Charlie refers to. So this is the highest speed at which sudden and full deflections of the controls can be made without exceeding the design speed, the design limit factor. Actually, when you fly VA and you make a full deflection of the controls, all that can happen is a stall rather than a exceedance of the limit load factors, which is arguably better because if you're high enough, you can recover. And if you destroy your aircraft midair, well, then there is, of course, nothing else you can do. Then you have VB, V Bravo, which is the turbulence penetration speed. And then, of course, VC, this is the design cruise speed. And lastly, we have the VD, which is the design diving speed. The VD is the maximum speeds that the pilots during the testing fly in order to make sure that the aircraft is stable. Anything past VD will not guarantee safety in terms of the structure of the aircraft. And the V and E that you can see on your airspeed indicators, so never exceed speed, is 90% of the VD. So there is still a small margin. However, it's never advisable to fly around these speeds. So VC will be the speed used by the designers to assess the strength requirements in cruise, and this is the correct answer. Also remember that for VB, so the gas penetration speed, this ensures that we can take up to 66 feet per second gusts, as this can also be asked in these questions. But now question number 3. What is the effect of increasing the number of blades on the propeller? So of course, there is something called solidity, which refers to the propeller blade frontal area, which is divided by the disc area. And of course, you can increase the solidity either by increasing the chord of a propeller or by increasing the number of the propellers. However, with the numbers, this can be slightly tricky because as you go past a certain number, and usually this number is 6 propeller blades, the efficiency starts dropping dramatically because the airflow of each of the propellers starts to interfere with the other, causing the propellers to not to generate more maximum power, as it is in a case of up to around 6. So in this case, what is the effect of increasing the number of blades? Well, it increases the solidity of the propeller, and this will be the only correct answer in this case. Which of the following factors might result in the absence of stall warning on a commercial jet transport airplane? So, of course, we know that in case of ice, as this question is asking us, ice has many adverse effects on flight, and ice can affect greatly the performance and, of course, the stalling speeds. So, first of all, the accumulation of ice can increase our mass. And of course, we know that the greater the mass, the greater is the required lift, meaning our stall speed starts to increase. However, the first thing that will happen is that the ice, it changes our aerodynamic profile. So it changes the form drag that we have on the aircraft because of the friction of the skin that the ice is causing, as well as it's disturbing the shape of the wing. So of course, the first thing that will happen long before the ice actually, the mass starts to impact us, is that the wing will start to lose its lift properties. It will start to lose its aerodynamic properties, and this can cause a stall much earlier than we would think. And our aircraft has an angle of attack sensor that is tuned to a specific angle of attack, which essentially means that as the aircraft crosses the critical angle of attack or comes close to it, the stall warning will sound. However, when we have ice on the wings, then our critical angle of attack drops dramatically, meaning the sensors will sense the angle of attack increasing. However, it will think that we are still in the green. So for this answer, the correct answer for this question, the premature bunny on the stabilizer, no, this will cause a nose down or nose up attitude because that's what the stabilizer does. However, it will not make our aircraft stall immediately. Ice on the wings causing stall at a lower angle of attack. This sounds perfect. Icing on the pitot tubes causing erroneous indications. The stall warning is linked to the angle of attack sensor rather than the airspeed information. So remember that for these questions. So although it seems like it could be correct, it is not in this case. And lastly, the fuselage increasing mass. Yes, I can see how this answer could be considered correct. However, first, what will happen is that the wings will stall the higher angle of attack, and the mass accumulation will happen much later. So always remember the aerodynamics of the wing have the priority in case of these questions. And now lastly, the question number 5. You are flying at a constant calibrated airspeed in the unstable region and encounter a wind shear which changes a headwind into tailwind. Which statement is correct? So the unstable region, which is speeds below VMD, the minimum drag speed, this means that any disturbance in our speed, the drag starts to increase. So if we slow down, if our airspeed drops even momentarily, then it means the drag will start to rise and our airspeed will continue dropping even though we are keeping, for example, the same power setting, because as the drag rises, the power required increases. If we're flying beyond that level, any decrease of the speed will cause the drag to decrease as well, meaning that the aircraft will come back to the equilibrium or the previous state it was flying at. So if you're flying in the unstable speed region and your airspeed drops, meaning there is a slight gust, maybe a little tailwind, so your airspeed drops momentarily, the drag starts to increase and your speed starts to decrease. And this will be the correct answer, which is A. And this is everything for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful. I wish you all the best with your studies, and I hope you smash your principle of flight exams. Bye-bye.